Good morning. I'm Paul Markle, the Executive Director of the Barrie Chamber of Commerce, and I'd like to thank you for joining the Barrie Chamber today for this session on collaborating with kindness, how to successfully partner with charities and NFPs so that everybody wins. Barrie's business community is full of generous and kind-hearted people looking to make a difference. At this particular time of year, it's more important than ever, and you'll see that charitable actions all over social media and the news, but our business leaders are paying it forward year-round. Many aspects to supporting a charity or NFP that are good for your business as well as for your community, and you want to make sure that you structure the partnership properly to have the biggest impact. During this session, our panel of experts will talk to you about how to choose a charity or not-for-profit that aligns with your values, build a stronger partnership with that charity or not-for-profit, and make sure that you understand how to properly record donations, contributions, and how to collaborate with a charity NFP that can strengthen your marketing strategy. So I'll introduce our experts in a moment, but first, if you've got questions, I'd like you to please add them into the Q&A at the bottom of your screen rather than a chat. It's much easier for us to find them there and we don't miss things. But again, any questions are open and you can start adding those in as soon as you like. So our experts today are Arif Khan from Siva Creative Inc. Arif has a long history in the city of giving back in many different ways. We have Peter Sundborg from the Barrie Food Bank. Again, a stalwart person in the charitable realm within the city of Barrie, and he's got great stories and just a great person to collaborate with. And Niekerk, who is a partner at Powell Jones LLP, also a member of the Barrie Rotary Club, and is quite involved in a lot of different functions that involve business and charities and how to handle the accounting side. So we're going to do a quick presentation from each of these guys, about 5 to 7 minutes at the most, and then we're going to get into the majority of this being sort of Q&A and keep it conversational. So looking forward to it, and we're going to kick it off with Arif because his name starts with A.
And that is such a logical reason to do it that way. Thank you so much, Paul, and members of the Chamber, and obviously just the opportunity to be here and to share. Expert. That's an interesting title to be given, especially when you live in a community as ours, and anybody, I'm assuming, who's watching this or who's lived in Barrie for any period of time knows that really the population, the residents of the city of Barrie are experts in giving and participating in so many different events, venues, causes, things of interest in the city that people really gather. This is a community more than a city, although by population we're certainly a city. We certainly exemplify community for so many different reasons. And so it's actually a tall order to sit here and be here, but I think what I would love to help and contribute is my perspective. I certainly don't run a not-for-profit. I'm not part of a charitable organization in a professional manner, and I'm also not the person that you would call for tax advice. But I am somebody who lives here. I am somebody who benefits from living in our city, and I'm also somebody who has employees and has run a business for a number of years in this city. And if there's one thing that I've learned, it's that COVID actually has brought out some of the best of our city that I've ever seen. In speaking with people or watching social media, one might reasonably believe that people are pulling back and they're watching their money and they're taking a me first attitude. And I think the reality is in the last 8 or 9 months, I've seen the exact opposite. And there are so many different examples of that. However, the challenge that COVID that I've noticed about us is that we're being forced or we're being challenged to think differently than we used to. And certainly our expert from the food bank, Peter, who I've known for a number of years, will speak to that. But we're being really challenged to not do what would have been sort of second nature. And so I think the beauty behind this panel, Paul, and thanks for putting this together, is to get us talking about how can we still best serve our community, how can we still give generously to those who might not have the same fortunes that some of the rest of us do, and how can we just continue being good members, both as individuals and as businesses. And the first thing I like to look at is the fact that there isn't a single business that does business with another business, either in our community or I would argue globally. It's good people behind businesses, the staff, the admin, the owners, the shareholders of businesses who look to do business with other people behind other organizations. So at Siva, we have the good fortune of being in a very interesting industry, a very timely industry, being in digital marketing services. That's web development, that's app development, that's social media marketing. And these are skill sets that we have that are very timely and in huge demand. And I would say to you that a challenge that we faced, a good challenge that we face, is that we've been on the speed dial for a number of local organizations, community organizations, not-for-profit charitable associations, all looking to see how they can adapt, pivot, innovate, those keywords, those buzzwords that we're hearing more than ever, saying, hey, listen, we're no longer just in an analog. We won't survive in an analog fashion only. How do we embrace, or how do we adapt? And why I say that's a good challenge is it is really a challenge, because if our team was to somehow manage to respond to every call for help, we'd be out of business, because we would be solely focused only on assisting those who need our help. And that in itself is a tall order. And it's a tough thing to say no, or it's a tough thing to temper our ability to serve. The only thing that really we're reminded by, or we're grounded by, is the fact that if we go out of business, we can't help anybody. So one of the challenges that I wanted to talk about with our audience today was, and I hope that comes in through some other input from other panelists as well as the Q&A, is how do I give? How should I give? By what means should I give? And if I can't give the traditional way of donating food, for example, to the food bank, how else can I do it? And how can I stay in business? So it's really important for each of us as business owners or members in the community to remember that we have to find balance. We have to ensure that we take care of sort of our own families, we take care of our business, we make sure that we remain a viable business so that we can continue to give. And that's really key. At Siva, one of the things that we've been able to do, and I'm going to challenge every person, every member who's watching this video, you got to do the same for yourself, different than what we've done, but similarly, and that is find what is your natural skill set. What is something that you're doing anyway that you can add value to the community, to those in need who can benefit from our services? So as web designers, as web developers, as social media marketing experts, et cetera, we've been able to assist local organizations by giving them the benefit of our services, our skill set. So we're not giving them we're giving them a retail value, but we're taking it at our cost internally. And so we're able to give value, but we're also able to afford to give that value. Additionally, though, it's been really good for our staff, because our staff, they're the ones who have propellers on their heads. They're designers. They love sitting behind a computer and working and pumping out this stuff. And they're able to do what they do really well. They're able to do what they love doing, and they're able to give it to the benefit of another organization so that members in our community can benefit from it. It's up to an internal organization to figure it out. Are you paying your staff to do it? And therefore, is the company paying for all of that? We've actually had our staff come and say, we'd like to do something on our own time. So as much as we're paying them, we've got something internally called Coding for a Cause. And it's a competition, and we accept submissions, and our team and our staff select the viable candidate, and we donate the service, whether it's a website or a marketing campaign or whatever it may be. And so sometimes we're paying for it, so that's what the corporation is giving, but we also allow our staff, and I think it's important, we allow our staff to also be the ones who are giving. So they come in, they do their normal shift, but then they're also able to contribute. And sometimes that's financially by giving their hours for free, if you will. And where possible and where appropriate, they've also gone out with some of our clients. We've got a client in Shaq's World who's hit the headlines recently. They're one of our clients, and our staff went in and socially distanced with proper protective gear, et cetera, and went in and painted. So we've provided digital marketing services, but we've also provided hands-on physical volunteer labor to get their center open. Paul, I'm sure I'm beyond 5 to 7 minutes at this point. I want to cede the floor. Obviously, any questions I'm willing to take. There's lots to think about, though. This is a big undertaking because I think our community and those who are providing valuable services in the community need us more than ever. So I'm really glad to be a part of this forum this morning.
I muted myself. Thanks, Arif. And again, anybody that's ever watched a council meeting knows that you don't have a problem with spinning stuff out. So that's great. And everything that you're saying is bang on the mark. So why don't we move to the opposite side of this and talk with Peter at the food bank on the impacts of maybe collaborating with a business and what it does for that charity.
Well, thank you, Paul, and thank you to all the members that have joined us today. This is a great opportunity to share a little bit about the food bank and how we've been able to collaborate with so many businesses in Barrie. I remember when I first started at the food bank, I think it was year 2, that we hosted the BA5 at the Barrie Food Bank. And for me, that was a turning point for the food bank in its relationships with businesses in the city of Barrie. I think we had 125 businesses in that room that night. And over the next couple of years, our business donorship went up almost 35% of just businesses making donations to the Barrie Food Bank. And so it's so important to collaborate with a charity. My advice for businesses that are thinking about collaborating is make sure you believe in what the charity is doing. Make sure you have an understanding of their mission and what they hope to accomplish in their mission and their vision. And really make sure that you're doing it for the right reason. Over the years, we've had businesses contact us and say, we want to partner with the Barrie Food Bank, only to find out later that they really wanted to use our name because they felt it would benefit their business. That's the wrong reason to be hooking up with a charity. The right reason is to make sure that you're really doing it for the right reason and that you have your heart in that particular charity and what they've been able to do. Since COVID has hit, everything has changed in business. It's changed in the charity world. For the Barrie Food Bank, what we've been able to see is on whatever it was, March 15th or 16th, we basically shut down the way we were operating and went to an expedited process. We stopped taking food donations. We decided to do a financial campaign and launched that rather quickly on with traditional media and social media. And what we found out was we already knew that the city of Barrie and the people in the city of Barrie and the businesses and the schools and churches were generous. We just did not realize how generous they were going to be as we entered into COVID. And as Arif said, people are doing things differently because they're not all holding back and hanging on to their money. People want to help their neighbors. And that's what we're starting to see and have seen for the last 8 or 9 months at the food bank is the generosity of the community has been overwhelming. And we're just blown away by the enthusiasm, by the generosity of financial donations. And we quickly took a stance that if we were going to have to buy all of our food, we were not going to go and talk to a wholesaler in Toronto. We were going to keep the business local. And so we believe that funds raised locally should be spent locally. And so we immediately contacted Joe over at Joe's No Frills and Chris at Chris's No Frills, Rob over at the Freshco, and Albert at the Sobeys, and said, we want to work with you guys. We want to partner with you over the next month, 2 months, 6 months, could be 2 years, that we are going to purchase all of our food from you guys. And we're purchasing skids, 10, 12 skids a week, almost $60,000 every single month is being purchased through those grocery stores to ensure that we have enough food on the shelf to feed those who are coming through our door. The one thing that has not slowed down is the number of people coming through the door. And so we're seeing about 800 households a month, and that is on the rise. We'll probably see close to 1,000 by January, 1,000 households a month, which is pretty significant for us. Pre-COVID, we would have been seeing 500, 600. So those numbers certainly have climbed up. But thankfully, for the generosity of the community, we've been able to make sure that we have food on the shelves. And we've gone to a prepackaged grocery order, which means that in fact, people are actually leaving with more food than they would have in the past. So it's really been quite amazing what has happened. But I think one of the keys for the Barrie Food Bank and the relationship with businesses has been cultivating those partnerships. 9.5 years ago, that's when I started cultivating relationships with businesses. But interestingly enough, businesses also began cultivating relationships with charities. And it's so key for the chamber and all of its members to and you've all been so great to the Barrie Food Bank, but I know you've also been great with other charities throughout Barrie. And so when you think about the generosity in the community, I'll give you one little example that many of us may not realize, but last year there are 3 charities at Christmas who raised significant amounts of money. Christmas Cheer, the Salvation Army, and the Barrie Food Bank. And when you think that last year, in that month of December, between those 3 charities, $1.5 million was raised just for those 3 charities, just from people in Barrie. That is pretty significant. And I know that the Women and Children Shelter, Youth Haven, Season Center for Grieving Children, they also all receive funds. So we're in a very generous community. We're in a very caring community, and as we move into this holiday season that we're about to launch, the Barrie Food Bank simply wants to say thank you. Thank you for partnering with us. Thank you for making a difference in the lives of so many people. And I would encourage businesses who aren't sure about what they want to do in terms of relationships and collaborating with charities, just give them a call. Find out about their organization, go visit them if you're able to, and really spend some time determining what kind of a charity you would like to partner with, because I know there's a lot of charities that would love to partner with a lot of businesses. So thank you very much, and appreciate the great support that the community has given us, and certainly the businesses within the chamber have given us.
Yeah, thank you very much, Peter. I mean, it's interesting. The whole kickoff that we did at your location for BA5s was generated out of just having discussions around smaller businesses that just couldn't run the BA5s, and then a light bulb went off. I can remember discussing stuff with Chris Houston, and we tried it out. And then since then, we pretty much every single live event that we have a charitable component where we attach a charity into one of those events. And the spin-off of that is that it creates this culture of giving within the chamber environment.
Absolutely.
It's the same as any business environment of always putting that into part of your planning. And when you're doing something like right now, our current thing with the chamber is the Santa tour. It's based around how do we not lose a tradition, but give back to the community in a positive way. and walk away feeling good in a time that, everybody just isn't feeling great. So you're absolutely right. Creating that environment of giving back is important in any company culture. Aligning with a charity that, can touch your heart and maybe expand your own business's marketability is a twofold. You talked about the food bank, and the nice thing about that is that Joe's No Frills is a business, and he employs a lot of people in Barrie, and so do all of those grocery stores. So if somebody's buying a gift card that then has gone back to Joe's No Frills to purchase produce, and they buy from local suppliers, the whole ecosystem wins in that. People that need food get it. People that need jobs keep them. Local suppliers, their produce goes through those stores, and everybody wins, and we're much more self-sustaining. So thank you very much for obviously your hard work in that realm. And I don't want to leave Chris out of this conversation. He's going to talk about the financial benefits of partnering with a charity, but also maybe some of the pitfalls and things that you need to be aware of to make sure you do it properly, so they don't have Big Brother coming after you. So Chris, I'll pass it off to you, and we'll hopefully have more discussion in our Q&A.
Okay, thanks, Paul. And guys, thanks for your introductions there. Peter, just to follow up on one thing that you said there, one thing that we've noticed is with clients and charities that we're familiar with is a lot of them have lost their fundraising opportunities because of COVID. And what we've seen from it is so many different thinking outside of the box ideas that have come up. It's been absolutely amazing as a result of this. So it's really great to see. So as Paul mentioned, I'm a partner at Powell Jones, and as any accounting firm, you wear multiple hats. A lot of the people in this building start kind of doing the assurance thing, the audits of different organizations, including charities and not-for-profits. And one thing that we see there is, we're doing the charity return. The charity return gets posted on the charities directorate. And, if you're really looking to see whether a charity is a viable place for you to donate to me, finding that charities directorate where those charity returns are being posted, you can get really good financial information from there and really good information on the charity in general. That's one aspect of our business. Another one is, doing personal taxes. Is it a charity receipt or is it not a charity receipt? For example, a GoFundMe, that's not a charity receipt, even though a lot of the time it's a very good cause. It doesn't act as a tax credit on your tax return. Also on the personal tax side, what do you get back for a donation slip or for a donation? There's different percentages based on the amount that you donate. On the corporation side, we want to help our corporate clients with their philanthropy. Is it better to donate personally, or is it better to donate through your corporation? How does the donation of securities work, and is there any advantages there? So there's a bunch of things that we look at in our office, thinking about our corporate clients, and maybe another one is a foundation, setting up a foundation for your organization. So, and the last item I kind of wanted to mention here was there's all kinds of tax shelters out there. There's these tax shelter schemes where it sounds like a good idea, but if it sounds too good to be true, then it probably is. If you're getting 4 times the value of your donation receipt, it's probably not a good idea. You're probably going to get caught and you're probably going to get burned on it. So you really got to know who you're donating to, and certainly local is always a good thing. So thanks, Paul. Mine's a little shorter than the rest of these guys, but there you go.
That's fine, Chris. Absolutely. I mean, and we'll just take Powell Jones as an example of a business, that provides, accounting work. They do the chamber's audit, and provide lots of sound guidance for us to be able to make sure that we maximize every dollar that we bring in. We're a membership-based organization as a not-for-profit, but when they're working with a charity, again, it's making the right decisions from their standpoint in how to use their resources appropriately and make good business decisions so that those dollars go a long way. But their company as a whole, I think there's you probably have a corporate policy where everybody is involved in one shape or form, and then there's also the cultural side of it where, I see Powell Jones out at the fun run and doing those kinds of things. So your entire business is geared around that, as is Siva's, as is the majority of businesses that are members of the chamber in some way, shape, or form. They do something. So I want to get into the Q&A because I think that's going to bring up some of those questions. Arif, have you got something before we get into that? You're muted, buddy. You're muted.
I've been muted. That's just horrible. I
feel like the moderator at a Trump debate. This is great.
Wow. I've gotten to know Chris over the last year and change, and I can tell you, not only is he a fantastic human being, but I would want my person who's giving me tax and financial advice to be brief and to the point and be blunt. So I don't mind that your presentation was exactly that. Thank you. But just to touch on a couple of things that I heard, if you don't mind, and I've been reading some of the Q&As on the side, and I know that you're going to get into that, Paul, but first and foremost, Peter, thank you for saying what needed to be said. It is something that I wanted to say, and I think it's worth repeating. At Siva, we are in the marketing business. Some people would say in the advertising business. We're in the business of driving sales, helping our clients. Our clients can be for-profit, they can be not-for-profit, but increase awareness, generate revenue, et cetera, et cetera. That's the business that we are in. However, we have an absolute policy. It is something that we believe in. It is something that we live by. We will do anything and everything to avoid working on a campaign where we believe that a person or an entity or a corporation thinks that aligning itself with a charity so that it may gain them exposure and it may gain them accolades and it may be a channel for driving more traffic to their brand. If they think that that's, I'm sorry, I lost my own train of thought, but if they think that that's going to be part of their strategy, we won't do the business. We won't touch it. And it's not that people come in with an ulterior motive or they come in with sort of some sort of deceptive motive to drive traffic. Let's be blunt. I don't think there's anybody out there who hasn't been impacted in one way, shape, or form by COVID, who hasn't been caught off guard that they left going digital for some other time, that they'll get around to it. One day I'll get on it. And they realized in March, I might be out of business. What can I do? How am I going to survive? Maybe if I align myself, it'll make me look good or whatever. Or if a client is choosing between two companies, two organizations, and they see that we're aligned with a charitable organization in town, maybe they'll pick us. Okay, I get it. That's not entirely unrealistic for someone to have thought that. It's wrong, though. It's absolutely wrong. So we won't do it. And I think that there are good ways to go about aligning yourself with a cause, with an organization. I think this is totally not business 101, but I think it's humanity 101. I think that if you as a decision maker, or if you work collectively in a group setting with your employees, because we believe in our employees driving the direction of our company, right? They are the boots on the ground, so to speak, and they are the heartbeat of our company. So we want that input. If this is something that is in your heart to do, to serve, if it's in your heart to do good in the community, then do it for that reason. And do it for that reason alone, and good things will happen to you. If you serve with a pure heart, good things will happen to you. The community will recognize that anyway, and the business will come to you. But it's the same thing in any sales environment. If the client sees that you have blood, like that you smell blood, like you're going in for the kill and you're going to get that sale, if they see it, they're going to feel it. That is an emotion that gets transferred. The consumer's not stupid. The consumer will see what your priority is, and they will avoid you like the plague. So our belief is go do good anyway in the community. And there are ways to do it, and I'm happy to talk with anybody offline or whatever. But simply put, there are good ways to align a campaign. There are people, there are corporations who long before COVID, or long before it was trendy, or long before it was Christmas and perhaps the food bank was in need of food, whatever it is, as Peter mentioned. And by the way, I really applaud Peter for saying, find the organization or the cause or the charity that you align with. He didn't say, come to the food bank. He said, find the place that you align with and reach out to them. And so there are corporations or companies or sole proprietorships that go and do that. And they say 5% of every sale goes to this organization or goes to serving causes in the community. That's not a sales tactic. That's an internal policy. That's a business decision. Chris is going to be the better person to speak to that than I am all day long. But that's much different than I need to increase my sales and my awareness and my traffic. So I'm going to say that I'm going to give money and hope that people come to me. The only other thing that I would say with that, with what was been said so far on this is, because I know the question comes up, how do I choose which one I'm supposed to do? Plain and simple, find out what the needs are. Ask questions, right? So align yourself with the needs, fill it, and make it fun. So you can make it competitive, you can have it as a campaign, you can do all sorts of things, but ask the questions. Don't go, I would say, instead of going in saying, this is what I want to do, I would say, hey, listen, I love what you're doing in the community, how can I help? And let me see if I can align myself to that. But my thoughts are, even if money's tight, if you were going to give and money's tight, perhaps decide, instead of going to the restaurant, and that value of going to the restaurant was going to be $100 as a round number, or $200 as a round number, whatever it may be, right? Just decide not to go to the restaurant. If you don't have money in your pocket to give as an additional item, it doesn't have to be an either or. You can decide to not go to the restaurant and give that value to the organization that you believe in. And it could be as simple as that. And if anybody thinks that a simple $10 or a simple $100 isn't a lot of money, multiply that by the population of the city of Barrie, $10 at a time will make a world of difference.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll go through, there's 11 questions. Arif just answered 10 of them. Thanks, Arif. But we're gonna get through a couple in here. I'm sure we can dig a couple out, but you're absolutely right. In my comment in here along those lines is that as a small business, when I had my business, I kind of made the decision that I wanted to help out in some way. I joined a service club because, in that respect, you can give time, talent, or resources. I had lots of time. I'm very short on talent and had absolutely no resources. So I gave lots of time, but there are pitfalls with that as well. You can get very overwhelmed by getting involved with a charity and giving too much time. So you need to be careful of that, but definitely get into behind something that you're passionate about. If you've got a family member that has been impacted by cancer or addictions, those kinds of things, it's going to be close to your heart. You're going to put a lot more to it. Just make sure you're aligning with a good charity, as Chris had pointed out. Have a look at what their books are like and how much of the money that is raised goes to administrative versus directly to the charity is a huge thing. Some of these bigger charities that you think 100% of the dollar that you're donating goes to the charity, when in fact it's a very small amount that goes to actually helping people. Most of it has gone to the administrative component. So with that, I'm going to get into a couple questions. Some of these are just comments. So somebody agreeing with Arif, 100% correct, partnerships are the key. So how do we find each other to work together business with business? And again, that would be, just asking that question. When you see a business that's aligned themselves with another business, call them up and ask them how they made that happen. Call Peter. He's a great resource for those kinds of things. You're going to get your answers by engaging, and I think that would be the best way of going about it. The Chamber can obviously direct you to many nonprofits and charities in the city that you may not even be aware of. Good to see Peter. Peter, I have a question to you from Barb White, another super generous person in our community. Is when do you think you'll be accepting food products from the general public again? And I know it's not because there's a problem with the food. It's a labor and a staffing problem. Is it not? Am I correct there?
Absolutely. So our biggest challenge is that if we took in 50,000 or 100,000 pounds of food, we have to bring in 80 people to be able to sort that food, and we just can't do that at the moment. We're limited to about 10 people in the food bank at the moment. So in terms of a date, I think it's going to really depend on where COVID takes us over the next several months, but I don't see us collecting food in the next year. I think we'll be into 2022 before we can safely ensure that food donations can come in, certainly on the large scale, like the Thanksgiving food drive and the Christmas food drive and those kind of things. But for the most part, I think we'll be sticking with our financial donations and keeping our numbers within the food bank low. On the other side of the coin is I really don't want people going out and purchasing food on our behalf at the grocery store and then coming to the food bank and dropping that food off. I want people to stay home and be safe. I want them to stay within their bubbles. And because I think all of us need to ensure that each other is safe during this pandemic. And so financial donations are easily made online, barriefoodbank.org. And most charities nowadays have some form of online donation, whether it's through Canada Helps or whether it's through their own online donations. And certainly go there and make a donation.
Super advice. So another question along those lines is, can I buy a gift card from any local food business and donate that to the food bank, or does it need to be a specific retailer?
No, we're taking gift cards from all of the grocery stores. So it's pretty easy. If it's a PC gift card, it can be used at the No Frills or Dessert stores. So no problem there. Gift cards are a simple way for people to make a donation. I think if you're expecting a tax receipt with that gift card, and Chris might be able to jump in on this, but if you're expecting a tax receipt on the gift card, you need to provide us with the receipt that you purchased that gift card for. So you can often get a second receipt, and when you give this receipt for $25, we can give you a personal tax receipt for that $25.
Okay, and Chris just gave us the thumbs up, so that appears to be the correct answer. I'm gonna jump down to another one here so I can get Chris involved in our conversation. I see some businesses open a not-for-profit as a subsidiary or sister type company to their business. What's the benefit of this with my taxes or my brand?
Where is that question there, Paul? I'm just reading through here.
It's towards the bottom. It's like 4 up from the bottom.
Okay. Subsidiary or sister type company to their business. What is the benefit? Well, first of all, it's a difficult thing to start up a not-for-profit. It's not something that you get approval for easily, especially getting your charitable status. That's even more difficult. But of course, a not-for-profit, you don't pay any tax in a not-for-profit. You don't pay any corporate tax in a not-for-profit, right? So there is definitely an advantage there. There's a separate set of rules that comes along with it, but there is an advantage there. The thing is, when you become a not-for-profit, then you can't, those assets become restricted. It's not like you can just pick up those assets again, no problem. There's a little bit of work to do that. So to be honest with you, I don't see that very often where a subsidiary company is a not-for-profit organization, because there are challenges with it. You have a board in place, and I think that's a difficult thing to do. So,
would it be better to have a corporate policy where you're going to make your donations or your focus all of your efforts along those lines to a particular charity, and then receive the benefits of being fully engaged with them? Is that a better way of maybe aligning things?
Absolutely. And on the corporate side of things, when you make a donation, it's a deduction for your company. It's absolutely a deduction. On the personal side, it works a little different. You get a tax credit for it, but in your company, you get a straight deduction for it. So whether you get a tax receipt or not, it doesn't really matter all that much. You do need some kind of receipt, but it doesn't have to be have a charitable registration number. It's a deduction number.
Right. So as a company, you can literally almost double dip, right? Corporately, you support an organization, and then your employees do. The employees have a personal tax benefit. The corporation gets a deduction, and the charity is fully supported by an entire organization. So it's a win-win for everybody.
Yeah, that's
with
right.
that kind of an alignment.
That's right. And something else from a corporate perspective that I think works for businesses a lot of the time. Businesses these days, the people that have been working, and there's a lot of them, they're working really hard. And a lot of the time, their philanthropy efforts maybe get pushed to the wayside because they're so focused on running their business. And it happens where the charities come up with kind of turnkey ideas for businesses to get involved, and they can run with their employees on it. The employees get engaged in it, and it's a great team building type thing too. So those are good ways of getting involved.
Absolutely. I'm going to go to a question here from Mike Montague. I think Arif knows him from some stuff that he does online with him. What are the top community needs which have been exacerbated by COVID-19, and how can Barrie residents best serve those needs? So this is, I guess, a sort of a general question. Arif, you want to take a crack at it, or Peter?
Sure. Well, I mean, I certainly would defer to Peter's expertise as he's on the front lines on a daily basis. But I think the point that he made earlier was the one that resonated with me just very, very directly and bluntly. And that is that while the rest of us have been distracted by the changes to how COVID has impacted our lives, and whether it's from an inconvenience perspective or whether it's from, putting us in a greater form of jeopardy or something like that. Each of us have our own personal stories of how we've been impacted by COVID. However, for those of us in the community who were already on the fringe, or maybe who were already in a very tough spot, this has only further exacerbated their scenario or their situation. And certainly from paying attention to what's going on in community forums, Barrie Family Unite, obviously Barrie Live music venue has done some amazing things, but also at a city level, and just through paying attention to what's going on through community service providers like the police service, you can certainly note that that mental health, that a secure and stable home and family environment is something that would certainly be a top concern to us to look and care for our neighbors. How is the mental well-being of our neighbor or of our family member? It might be someone living in our own home, somebody in our youth, in our school-age children who have been away from their peers, where peer pressure, or maybe they were only finding happiness by being around their friends or participating in the school life environment. Maybe that's had an impact. And certainly I would imagine that our friends and partners at the women's shelter would certainly recognize that domestic violence is of a concern, because where there is a partner, an intimate partner, who has been on the receiving end of either physical or mental or emotional stress and violence, being confined to home and having more limited access to the outside world than previously has probably played a significant role and only exacerbated that situation. So from my perspective, we all have things that have been an inconvenience or a nuisance and have challenged us. And some of those things are things that we're going to survive. We're going to force ourselves to adapt financially. How can we run our businesses differently in this new environment? Those are, as the term would be coined, a first world problem, in my opinion. But people who are suffering from abuse or distress and mental health and anguish, that's not a first world problem. That's everybody's problem. And I'm not going to give advice on how to reach out, but I would certainly encourage people to reach out to those who would know how best to reach out and ensure that our friends and family members are safe.
Yeah, absolutely. Chris, you had a comment there, and I've got something to sort of chime in with as well.
Yeah. Just quickly, as Paul mentioned earlier, I'm also a proud Rotarian, and I'm the director of community service this year, where we're assisting people that are falling short. A lot of these people that we're seeing, they've lost their job, they're on the CERB. And what I can tell you is it's going to be a dark winter, because the next few months are going to be a real challenge for people. And with that, we really got to support our charities behind that. One other area that can be supported is our long-term care homes, because they're really struggling not being able to see their families. So there's another idea out there.
Yeah, absolutely. The overwhelming thing here, and Peter, I'll let you chime in just a sec here, is that in general, it doesn't matter what organizations you support. Any time you look around Barrie at this particular time, every single one of those not-for-profits is hurting. And the ability for organizations like the Rotary Club or Lions or Kiwanis, just take Kempenfest as being an event that got shut down. The economic impact and the spin-off, because that organization is built of charities coming together to form a not-for-profit that then takes every bit of revenue that comes in and spins it out within our community locally. The devastating impact of that you're not seeing right away, but you will see that, as Chris explains, as in being a dark winter, because we don't have the resources in those organizations to then support those organizations. When they come knocking, the dollars just aren't there. So there's an overwhelming, and that's just going to get worse. So if you do have the resources, and again, Barrie's a very giving community. You just listen to Peter, 1.5 million is an extraordinary amount of money. But if you do have the opportunity to donate time, talent, or resources, you should do it, because it's going to have a long-lasting effect on our community and give us the ability to recover a lot more quickly and to provide supports to people that really need it, and not ones that just think they need it, and there's a difference between those. Peter, your comments?
Yeah, absolutely. I was just going to say, I agree with both Arif and Chris that, everybody has been impacted. Every one of us has been impacted. And, when you think of Canadian Mental Health would be an organization that I would be considering supporting, Women and Children's Shelter, the David Busby Center, the Salvation Army, Youth Haven. We were very fortunate to partner, and I'll give you a little story about partnering with a business. We were fortunate to partner with the Barrie Colts last March when COVID took its toll on us all very quickly. And Jim Payetta and the Barrie Colts Foundation donated close to $80,000 over several months to be able to cook meals, and they cooked meals at the arena. They kept their kitchen staff on, cooked 800 meals a day. The Barrie Food Bank and the Women and Children's Shelter, the Salvation Army, the David Busby Center, Christian Horizons, Youth Haven were all benefits of that. And we were fortunate enough to partner with Jim and the Barrie Colts to make that happen. But all of those organizations were impacted by COVID. And these are folks that are now being shut in. So, we have a number of people that are staying in hotels right now. There are a number of people that are, there's an overflow at the Women and Children's Shelter. The number of clients that are coming to see the Barrie Food Bank. We actually had a dip in usage and in April and May. And we were kind of going, why do we have this dip in usage? Well, whether you're wealthy or whether you're poor, you still have the fear of COVID. And so a number of our clients did not come. They were nervous. They were afraid to go outside their house. And so we partnered with the city, and we partnered with DriveWise and a local church, and we started doing deliveries. So it's very easy for charities and businesses to partner in ways that you never thought of. I mean, I would have never thought that the Barrie Colts would, Jim Payetta would call me up and say, Peter, we just want to cook meals for anybody who needs meals. And then DriveWise and the mayor's office partnering with us to say, we want to deliver meals. So, it's only your imagination that's going to stop us from not being able to serve those who are in need. And it's not just the people who are poor who are in need. There are people living in poverty, absolutely they're in need. But as Arif said, we're all impacted. Everybody's mental health is different than it was last February. If you had gone to a Caribbean country last February and enjoyed time on the beach and came back in March, things change in a very quick, short period of time that impacted everyone. And so we need to watch out for each other. In response to Mike's question, I don't think there are 3 top ones. I think there's a whole bunch, and it's very hard to pinpoint one organization. But again, reach out with your heart to that organization that you really feel you and your business would have a strong connection with.
Absolutely. Somebody put a link up in the chat, so it looks like it's a government link. Maybe that was Chris, or it could have been, no, actually it came from the chamber. So click through that. I'm not really exactly sure what it is, but may have something to do with the charity component of things. Anyways, we've got a whole pile of questions in here. We've got 6 minutes to get through them. I'm just going to read a couple of different sort of statements in this. With our business, we donate to many different causes every month. Would it be better to pick a few and focus more on them? My answer to that, and I'll let anyone else that wants to contribute, would be I don't think it matters. It really depends on your resources and your ability to be genuine in the way that you do that support. Picking one helps one. If you take that all-around approach, maybe aligning yourself with a service club is a better way of doing it. The Rotary Club supports every charity, as Chris mentioned, he's the community service partner, but the same thing happens with Kiwanis and Lions and the other service clubs that are around. So maybe it's better that you align yourself with them. If you have something that's personal, align with the personal belief, and again, you're going to be a lot more behind it. There's also something in here from Facebook Live. Please share the benefits of using the for-profit social enterprise business model. Those who use their product or service to generate revenue that is often used to support charities and nonprofits. Quickly speaking to that, if you're not behind it 100% and genuine in what you do, that's going to hurt your business more than it's going to help it. So to Arif's point, if you're going to say you're going to contribute 3% of your profit, contribute 3% of your profit and let people know. Be very transparent in how you do that, and make sure that your marketing is designed around that, or you will be seen as being somebody that's taking advantage of something, and that's not good for the charity, not good for you or your employees. Anyone not agree with me, please raise your hand. But I think that's an important point. And there was another question about using it at charity. How do I avoid the perception that I'm only supporting a charity as a marketing tactic? So Arif, if you want to comment on that, they're similar questions.
Yeah, I do, and I think it's a great question, and I want to make sure that those who are watching and those who are asking the questions, first of all, thank you for the questions. I believe they're genuine, and I don't ever want to challenge someone's authenticity on the question. I think it's an important question to ask. What I want to convey from our perspective as a marketing agency, we're not just in this ad business, we are strategic partners. We align ourselves strategically with the business owner. And so part of that goes to, let's set aside the campaign, let's set aside that advertising campaign for a moment. Let's actually talk about who you are as a business. What do you believe in? What are your core values? All that kind of thing. That's not fluff, and that's not something that should be taken lightly. So going forward from there, and I love that, Paul, sorry, I love what you just threw up there. Going forward from there, the question about avoiding perception of avoiding an improper perception of why you're doing, charity and is it genuine or not. Here's my thought for you. And I think there are some wonderful examples out there. I'm going to be let me be blunt. Avoid, in my opinion, standing there with the check. This is me handing a check for $10,000 and blasting that to everybody you know. If you feel you need to do that, great. I'm not so sure. My opinion is the financial impact that a person or a company offers into the community, that's personal, or that's private. That's between you and your financial advisor, your accountant, and the CRA. And if you're just handing out money so that you can get a picture and think you're going to get traction out of that photo of you handing out $500 or $1,000, that's your issue, I guess. I don't get turned on by that kind of thing. What I get impressed by is, for example, a website that talks about what they do for a business and shows all the value that they add in the community and what is the benefit of working with us, and then discreetly along the bottom or in a well-positioned place on your website talking about the things that you believe in and therefore the causes or the charity that you've aligned yourself with. And you could be putting links to that organization. You could be having video clips or blogs from that organization, whether it's the food bank or the women's shelter or anybody else. And it's a place that can have a permanent space on your website or a permanent place in your email marketing or a permanent place wherever in what you do. Let people come across it and they'll recognize that you align yourself with that organization. You can also put out social media posts that aren't, hey, look at me and the money and the great thing that I just did, but instead you can put out a link that is branded yours, but that is highlighting the good work of that charitable organization or that not-for-profit organization in the community. Make it about them. Because on social media, people want to read and see good news. We're tired of bad news. We want to see the good news. We want to read the good news. Post a link about the good work that the good folks at the shelter or Canadian Mental Health or the food bank are doing. And it can just be very gently branded yours, that is something that you're sharing. People will figure it out. The dollar value that you donate, in my opinion, that's your business. I don't need to know. Because $100 to you may have the same value as $1 to me or $100,000 to somebody else who's quite well-to-do. It's not the point. It's share the good message, be humble about it, be discreet about it, push out good things about what somebody else is doing. People will figure out that you're a good person.
Yeah, absolutely. So I can answer one question because it's self-serving, and then I'm also going to put a comment in that came through the chat. From Chris Houston, who Peter obviously knows really well. So Chris's comment is, after 7 years of working with Peter in the Barrie Food Bank, people still think that I work for the food bank and don't realize that I have my own business. So do it for the right reason. It fills my soul. And, and again, Peter can verify that. The reason I joined charity or the Rotary Club is it fills my cup. At the end of the day, I do all sorts of different things, and I can walk away feeling good. And if that's the only reason I do it, then that's enough, because at least you're being genuine. So the last question in here, before we get into closing, and I apologize, we could talk about this for the entire day. I mean, this is one of those things that I'm pretty passionate about. But what is the best way to align my business with the Barrie Chamber? I understand the Chamber is a not-for-profit, but how do people support the Chamber? Do you accept donations? So, a not-for-profit like the Chamber it serves businesses. It's different than a charity. When we run a gala and we ask people to come and sponsor it, we're not supporting a cause, we're supporting ourselves. The Chamber's role really is to support local business. And if we're alive and well, then we're able to provide those supports for businesses so they can continue to operate, and we can provide them with the best advocacy and information possible, provide marketing to them. The Santa Tour is a great example of that, where, we're supporting ourselves with the revenue that we generate from it. We're not asking for a ton of money. There's not a huge amount of margin in it. But at the same time, we're supporting all of these different charitable organizations that are going to reap the benefits of the additional exposure to it. And at the same time, we're keeping Santa alive, so it's got a community component. So, the best way to engage with the Chamber is be a member. be a member and involve yourself in some of the different things that we do. Buy some advertising if you can. It's going to help your business. It's going to help us. But get engaged that way. Do it for the right reason. Supporting your own business, which puts food on the table and supports other employees. Those are the reasons why you would do something for the chamber. Sorry, Chris is popping in with more questions here. Start small, join a committee to help with an event and work your way up towards a board member and get your voice heard. And Barb White has said, amazing information, gentlemen. Thanks for keeping us all informed. I have to run. Ripple for your kindness. Another organization that that helps out. Go ahead, Arif, and then we're going to close up.
I know you do, and I'm sorry, I got to put in this plug here real quick because this is also impacts members. It's also something from our perspective. There is a bit of a campaign out there that is sort of the anti-Amazon, support local anti-Amazon. I want to be real careful. A lot of people are miffed that the provincial government has said big box stores in the lockdown areas will remain open while small proprietors will shut down. I want to be very clear. That's not a blanket statement, and that's not all encompassing. And the reason why I would say this, I believe in support local. I believe in support my neighbors. I believe in taking care of our downtown and all the businesses who are members of the chamber, just as Peter talked about earlier. However, I would be very careful, and I would encourage people, do your homework, do your research, because these online platforms like Amazon or Shopify or whatever it may be, eBay, you name it, those online platforms, they look like they're large conglomerates. They look like you're taking money out of, to the basic perception, you're taking money out of the local economy. But remember this, some of those platforms provide a platform for your next door neighbor or your small business or that shop that you love downtown to be able to survive, to be able to pivot and adapt. So please, if I can convey one message, you may not like Jeff Bezos, and I'm sorry to pick on you, Jeff, but you may not like Jeff Bezos because you think he's a trillionaire and he doesn't care about you. But remember, there are numerous families and small businesses and sole proprietors who make their services or their goods available through those platforms. And I just want to leave it there.
Absolutely. Don't buy stuff from China. Buy it from Canada. Buy it locally if you can. And that's really the answer. Go ahead, Peter.
Yeah, just one last final comment was, when you're going to align yourself with a charity, make sure you're aligning it for the right reason and for all the reasons we talked about today. And just to touch on the amount of the donation, every single donation, whether it's $5 or $50,000, is important. And as a charity, I'm not looking for the big donation from a business. I'm looking for a partnership. I'm looking for a business that is genuinely interested in what the Barrie Food Bank is doing. And I'm looking for a business that I could call up and say, by the way, is there anything beyond financial? Is there anything you could do to help us move the food bank forward? Because we are a business as well. And so it's not about the amount of the donation, but please align yourself with the charity that is best suited for your business, for yourself individually, and you won't have to worry about the image. It'll just be awesome. Thank you.
Overt actions make a big impact. Sorry, I tried to hold up something here and it's failing because of my screen. Anyway, it's a purple tie for the Women and Children's Society. Buy a tie, wear their colors, support them that way. There's lots of ways that you can help out. So anyways, gentlemen, I wish I could run this longer, but we need to be conscious of everyone's time. So I will close it off here. In closing, thank you again for joining us and the work that you're doing in your business every day. Thank you for the work you've already done to help flatten the curve. Even though we're in a new zone or a new orange, whatever that means, we thank you for your continued focus on keeping our community safe. And again, I believe we're better off than other communities in Ontario, so we've done a great job. We just need to keep going a bit longer. Help continue to shop local, and as Arif said, support neighbors, families, and friends. Make intentional purchasing decisions. That's really the key to it. Think about what you're buying. Buying from a big box store in Barrie that employs somebody is not a bad thing, and you shouldn't be ashamed for doing that. If somebody in the town, makes the TV, that's even better. So that's where they're going with it. The chamber is here to help you through this. Please feel free to email us or call if you need something more. Join us for some of our upcoming activities. Everything's free right now for the most part. Wednesday, November 25th at noon is our Chamber Chat networking session, face-to-face connections, less businessy, more personal connections, and a bit more BA5-ish. They're lots of fun. We're going to have some other programming coming up soon that'll be more, direct business networking. That's not so much just having some fun. Still not a waste of your time. Santa Tour, no safe way to operate the parade this year, so we're doing the Santa Tour, bringing Santa to Barrie businesses. Please watch our social media. We're into week 2 or 2.5 of actually putting up postings today. Discount Granite went up, and the food bank's on that. Siva is on that. Powell Jones. No, we're going to get them on that. At any rate, we got lots of things happening with the Santa Tour, and they're kind of fun. So it lightens your day a little bit. But again, it promotes buying local, supporting those charities, and getting some toys in the hands of kids that need them. And again, the hashtag for that is hashtag Barrie Santa Tour. So please even tag that in some of your posts. Every little bit helps. So with that, I'm going to sign off. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for your time today, and please reach out in the chat just before we close off. The webinar is on Facebook Live. You'll be able to find it a little bit later as far as the replay is concerned. But if you hit the little box with 3 buttons, you can save the chat, which has that list of charities from the CRA. Chris had helped us with that to put that up in there. And I will get 2 more questions in here. Let's see. We will answer those questions offline. But again, thank you very much for coming out today. Have a great afternoon.
Have a great
Cheers.
day.
You too.
Take care, everyone.
Bye-bye. I'm going to leave it open just a second so people can save that chat. Awesome.